All right. Drake Bell is back.
Hey, how's it going?
Drake, first of all, I got to tell you, I am forever in your debt. I truly want to, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. When the Quiet on Set documentary came out, I don't know if this was planned or whatever, but the timing worked that you and I sat down first and talked
Yeah.
about that documentary, and our interview went worldwide. It was amazing for you, but you forever changed the trajectory of my podcast. So I truly want to thank
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you.
you really, I don't think you have any idea. And we have a mutual friend, Justin, and I keep saying to him,
Yeah.
what's Drake's address? I need to send him something. But
Oh, that's so sweet.
then I get panicked because I see you wearing Gucci all the time. So I'm like, what else does this man like aside from Gucci? Like, where am I? Like, I'm like, I want to send him, like, I can't really send him soap. Like, but I don't want to send him like $1,000 pair of loafers. Like, okay, what do you
You
like?
don't?
I don't, well, maybe
You
I'll have
want
to
to, but you're
actually.
not going to.
Okay, what's your shoe size? I might have to send you some. I might just send
Six
you.
and a half in Gucci.
Okay.
No. I'm just happy that it were all worked out. That's really cool.
No, you look, how are you doing? You arguably
I'll take a Sarah Fraser t-shirt, some merch. Send me some merch.
just what you want. Oh my God, I'm sending you some loafers. That's it. Seriously, you had one of the biggest pop culture moments of the entire year of 2023. How have you been since then?
I've been great. Released my album, Nonstop Flight, just came out in October, and I've been on a crazy tour. That's why my schedule's been so wild. So we just did like 15 shows around Mexico. Now I'm back in the US. I'm playing Oklahoma tonight. I play Dallas tomorrow. Then I go to Houston. Then I have some shows in LA, Minneapolis, I don't know, all over.
Everywhere.
Yeah, I'm really excited for the one in LA. I'm playing at the Universal City Walk, and every year I do a Christmas show. So it's really fun because I'm on tour playing my record and all that, but I'm a huge Christmas freak. And so every year I do like with the big, I like have horn section and we do all Christmas songs. And so we'll be doing that at City Walk on the 21st. And then the night before, I always do an ugly Christmas sweater party.
Oh,
So
love.
the night before at Venice West in Venice, California, I'll be doing where are you located?
I'm right on the west side of California. Of
Come
LA.
on down,
I'm
come on down to
coming.
Venice West on the 20th. We're doing the ugly Christmas sweater party. It's going to be a blast. So, I'll be playing songs from the record and some Christmas songs and everything, and it'll be all festive and everyone dresses up in ugly sweaters and stuff. So it's a lot of fun.
You were just the Ice King on Masked
Yeah.
Singer. Huge.
How apropos.
Apropos. What was that like, by the way?
That was amazing. I mean, it was really cool because I got to do the Masked Singer in Mexico last year, and
Oh,
so
didn't even know they had a Mexico version.
yeah. Well, it started I think in like South Korea or something. It's yeah, so they have them all over the world. Um and so I got to do the Masked Singer Mexico, which was a lot of fun. And then I got called for the Masked Singer US and I was like, "Oh, I had such a blast and doing the one in Mexico." So I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." So it was awesome. Unfortunately, I got to the same exact point that I got to in Masked Singer Mexico, but it was still a blast.
It looks somewhat torturous. Like you did a recap video. It looks like a lot of work. How many hours a day are you on that set? Like, I don't know. It didn't
You
seem
know, I
fun.
kind of I kind of like over exaggerated in the recap video just for like entertainment sake, but no, it really is grueling. I mean, you're up in the morning and they really do like when I first started watching Masked Singer, I thought, okay, it's a little bit for TV, everyone probably knows who each other are and how secretive can it be? Like, I've
Yeah.
worked on movie sets and TV sets, and it's like, you're hanging out with everyone, you're having lunch together, I'm like, how are they keeping people separated? How do they not know? How is this still a secret, you know? And so but when you get there, it really is. I just got a notification that my hotspot might run out. So if it does, I'll reconnect.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, sorry.
No worries.
I'm on my hotspot right now. But anyway,
Working great.
so yeah.
Okay.
So you really you get up in the morning and they make you wear this like visor. I think you saw in the video. It's like this like Darth Vader visor mask. You have every part of you is covered. You have gloves on. You can't see. I mean, I didn't know if people were men or women or what. Like, I mean, you're kind of trying to look and guess, but you're dressed head to toe in black. You have these sweatshirts that say "Don't talk to me," like do not speak to me. Um, in Mexico, it was no hablame. But it's like, yeah, and they say "Don't speak to me," which I felt really strange wearing a sweatshirt
Yeah.
that said like "Don't talk to me." But yeah, from the second you leave your hotel, you have to get dressed completely covered at your hotel. You get in the car, you go to vocal rehearsal, um, you go to dance rehearsal right from and it is scheduled like okay at 9:13 you're going to be at vocal rehearsal. At 9:28, we're taking you out and taking you to dance rehearsal. At at 10:24, 10:22, I'm like, can't you just do like 9:50? They're like, no, it has to be it's so because it's just a well-oiled machine over there. And then you go to dress rehearsal, then you go to and you can kind of like practice with the visor on, but then they practice with the mask on and I mean it's all the way until
Yep.
your performance and you're given the song the day before. They're like, "All right, cool, go learn this song you've never sang before." And in the morning you're learning all these chord and I don't dance, you know? And so I'm learning all these like I hide behind my guitar. And so I'm like learning all these dance moves and I'm singing this, Miley Cyrus song that I've never even heard before. And and then, you get a little break for lunch. Um and then it's showtime. And then you go and you get dressed in the full costume and they push you out on stage and they're like, "All right, go do everything you just learned today." You're like, "Okay,
Great.
okay." So
Wait,
yeah, but it makes it, the fact that it is so boom, 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 it doesn't give you time to really, you are self-conscious and you are going, am I gonna, but you don't really have time to really sit and fester on, you know, being self-conscious or anything. And you're behind a mask, so you're like, dude, I'm just gonna go out and have fun. So yeah, so it is grueling, but I like the pace of it because you're just go 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 go, and then you're on stage for the actual show.
do you get to pick your character or no? They just like you show up and they're like, you're going to be the Ice King.
In Mexico, they gave me some options, and
Oh,
so I just picked like the cutest, cool. I was this baby alien, and I was like, oh, people are gonna like him. He's adorable. Like he looks like a little Pixar character. But in the US version, I was given the costume,
oh,
the
okay.
character.
Okay. Yeah, I always wondered that, like if they let you have much say. But
Yeah, I didn't in the US version. But I right when they showed it to me, I was like, oh, thank God, I'm not some like worm or something.
the
But it was
tomato, like it's
yeah,
always like someone,
yeah,
oh, great,
yeah,
I'm a tomato. Terrific.
yeah. No, no, the Ice King was awesome.
Well, how are you feeling? I mean, it does seem like you've had an incredible year. I feel like the words like come, do you feel like it's like a comeback in Hollywood? I mean, you've always had this amazing career, but I mean, it does seem like a little bit with The Masked Singer, you're welcomed back into Hollywood. People have such an interest about you. Do you feel that way? Do you feel like it's just this career resurgence that's happening?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to say because I've been doing this for so long, and ever since I was a kid, and um but yeah, I mean, there was a long stint of kind of floundering and figuring out what I wanted to do and what I was going to do, and if people were wanted to listen to my records anymore or watch me anymore, and I had a big I've always had a big fan base in Latin America, and so and I was releasing a lot of music in Spanish, and doing a lot with that part of the world. Um, and so I was spending so much time there, and it is really nice to come back and do something like The Masked Singer, doing, playing shows in the States again, um, and feeling welcomed. It's really cool. I have a song. It was bad. I wrote this song like a few years ago, and I just wasn't getting any love for the music in the States. Like I'd release something and it
Yeah.
would go number one in Mexico, and it would go number one, it'd be huge in other parts of the world. Um, but it was tough to, I'd play small shows in the States, and it was tough to so I kind of felt, anyway, I wrote this kind of tardy lyric that was in my song. I kind of relate. It says, um, uh, I kind of relate. I kind of relate. I lost my path so long ago, but in 2008, I found love in Mexico because no one wants to hear me in the States, so I'm running away. And so I had this line that says, like, because no one wants to hear me in the States. And it's really cool because now I'm playing these shows in the US. And when I played that song in Mexico, of course, like whenever I sang, I found love in Mexico, the audience would just erupt, and I'm playing these huge shows, and the audience would go crazy when they hear that lyric. And now my first show back in the US is so cool. It's on TikTok and stuff, but I I sing the song, I sing the lyric, I found love in Mexico, and everyone's just kind of listening, and then I go, because no one wants to hear me in the States. And now that's the lyric where everyone's erupting and like cheering and screaming and stuff. So that was a really, really nice feeling because I was like, oh, all right. Okay, maybe that was, I think that felt more like a comeback. I don't know, because maybe it's because it's a song I wrote, or maybe it's because it's like, you know, there was like me behind
Well,
that
I mean,
lyric from me, and then singing that lyric that's supposed to be kind of dissing on this, playing here, and then getting a reaction of like everyone's like, "No, we love you." We want you." So it's like, whoa, that was a really cool
I mean, you've
experience.
been through so much in your life and you've really worked on yourself these past couple of years. And then, of course, obviously, Quiet on Set was like, I mean, probably arguably one of the biggest documentaries all of 2023. I mean, have you been surprised, overwhelmed? Like, how have you felt about the reception? I mean, that's the thing. People want to see you. They've loved you
Um,
from this bravery. So, I mean,
yeah, I mean,
surprise.
like I said in our last interview, I mean, it's a roller coaster, it's up and down because obviously, um, I think some people look at it as like, oh, well, you're an actor, you're an entertainer, this, how is this like, how has this affected your career? And is it like this comeback? And I think a lot of people forget, it's like, it's still something I live with every day. It's just because I mean, it did help, getting, putting it at, getting my story out, and it's really great having people come up to me, when I'm at the airport or wherever, and meet and greets and stuff, and sharing their stories, and how the stories help them. Um, but still, at the end of the day, I mean, it's not just because I put it in a documentary is like,
It
all of
doesn't
a
go
sudden
away. Yeah, it
all yeah,
doesn't
all
go
of a
away.
sudden the wounds are healed because like, oh, all right, I'm all better now. I mean, it's something I'm going to live with for the rest of my life. Um, and I think something that was difficult too is all the letters of support uh, for the person charged is I didn't know about that until the documentary. So I've been living with this like kind of I mean, I was in the courtroom when it happened and I saw, you know, half of Hollywood on his side and me by myself. Um and so I've always gone through and that's always been difficult, going into auditions and going into meetings and going, you know,
Yeah.
just because they weren't in the courtroom doesn't mean that these people didn't go out to dinner and say, "Hey, I'm not going to put my face out there, but I support you." Yeah, so it's always had that thing like tickling in the back of my mind, like going into an audition or going into whatever, going, "Do these people know? Like, are these, you know, some of the people that would have been in the courtroom but weren't that stupid?" Um, and so it's been, it's kind of, and I've always had that in the back of my head. But then when I saw the letters of support that they got out for the documentary. And I mean, it's just like a stack, it's like a book, of just all these famous people and people in the industry and successful people and people that I've worked with and people I thought were my friends. And, that was a sobering moment of like, wow, and then going back and reading, going back and reliving all of the, what happened to Drake Bell? Drake Bell could have been so big, but he was just such a mess up. Why? Because I got a DUI. What, like every other person in
Hollywood star.
Hollywood?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, cool. Like, yeah, you see John Stamos getting arrested on Rodeo Drive for a DUI, but like he works like crazy and nobody cares. Like,
Yeah.
you know, and like who you drive in LA, like, and people make stupid mistakes, and you shouldn't do it. Obviously, it's a dumb thing to do, but you know,
Yeah.
people make mistakes. But for some reason, like my mistakes followed me like crazy. I'd like stumble outside of a bar, and someone would be like, "Drake Bell stumbles out of bar." I'm like, I wasn't even in the bar. There was. Have you seen the potholes in Los Angeles? I tripped on a crack in the sidewalk,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden I'm stumbling drunk out of a bar. I'm like, dude, I tripped, and wasn't even in that bar. Like I wasn't even in that club, but just for some reason it was just always like, and then reading things like, oh, this is why Drake Bell didn't succeed. Look at all Drake Bell's past problems. And and it just followed me. And then I think it created, this like self-destructive behavior where I'm just like, I can't catch a break, man. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, I mean,
geez.
do you think?
And but then and I'll just finish my thought here. But in the back of my mind, I always had that feeling that I was like, is there some cabal? Like, is there some like
Oh yeah.
evil like thing in Hollywood that's like making sure that this stuff keeps. And then when I got the letters of support, I was like, I mean, okay, so then you got to do the math on it, right? You got to go, okay, this is all the people who were in the courtroom. Those are just the people that would show up, right? There's got to be producers and directors and people who are like, are you insane? I'm not going to show my face in a courtroom supporting someone like this, but let's go out to dinner. Or let's have dinner at your house. I'll come over and show you my support, like behind the scenes. And then you get the letters of support. And then you've got those people who are like, okay, well, I'll write a letter because it's going to be sealed and no one will ever see it, but I'm not going to show up to court. And then you've got the other people who are like, are you crazy? I'm not going to show up to court and I'm not going to write a letter because if any of this sees the light of day, I'll never work again, which isn't true because every single person that wrote one of those letters worked like crazy. Um, and but I'll come to your house for dinner, So it's like there's 41 letters. There were like, I don't know how much a courtroom holds, 50, there's like 50 people in the courtroom. Well, now you can add, how many more do you add to that that didn't put their
Yeah. How do you
next
know,
one,
you know,
you know?
how do you know all the stuff behind the scenes?
Yeah,
Wait,
exactly.
I mean, you've lived through one of the craziest things in Hollywood. I mean, are you kind of like second guessing? Do you think there is like a cabal? Do you think there is an Illuminati? Like, do you think there is sort of this like maybe I don't even know if it's that, but more of a pact in Hollywood or something? I mean, what do
I
you
don't know if there's a pact. I don't know if there's a pact. I just think there's bad actors and people who, well, obviously there's bad actors. I think there's
in more
bad
ways than
players.
one, right?
Yeah, I think there's bad players and people, it's a place where you don't want to step on the wrong toes because there's a lot of powerful people. But I don't know. I don't think there's like some club, where
Yeah.
there's oh, like, I think people find like-minded people, and it's like I like to play fantasy football, and you like to have weird parties. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And they find each
After
other.
after our interview, because at the time nobody had written no one that had written the letters had ever reached out to you. Then after you and
Mm-mm.
I did our interview, Will Friedle reached out, Ryder Strong,
Friedle.
Friedle, thank you. And okay, has anybody else like sensed this? And I mean, you just did Mass Singer with Robin Thicke. Now, of course, his father's passed, Alan Thicke. Alan is in the documentary, wrote a letter. I mean, did Robin have a moment with you? Like, I mean, you
No,
can't
I
really.
didn't. I don't think he's even. I don't think he even connected the dots or anything like that because he has nothing to do with it. Um, but I didn't have much. Like I said, we can't talk to the judges. We can't.
Mm,
The only people who know who's under the mask are like the choreographer, the vocal instructor. We each have like a little team of like our own little production teams. Like each contestant has a different person. So even our teams didn't know who the other people were,
mm,
and then the executive producers. But like all of the people on stage don't know who's under the mask. We always show up in costume. The judges, we can't speak to because you can't hear the person's voice.
yeah.
You can't even go up to the judges completely dressed and say, "Hey, nice to meet you," or anything. Like you can't. And it's also a game show, so there's strict like California law rules. So we had an only interaction that we have. Everyone's seen on screen.
Yeah.
But Will reached out. That was really sweet. Ryder reached out. He was very apologetic and sweet, and we had a really long, like 2-hour conversation, and they check in on me and everything, um, and but yeah, that's about it.
Mm. How are you? Okay, you brought a great point up. I mean, what you still are living with what happened to you every day It doesn't go away. What are you doing now, and even in the 7 months since the documentary, to take care of you?
Well, I mean, therapy is a big thing. It's really great to just be able to be in and talk to somebody who's a third party with no skin in the game and a, you know, a lot of notations on his wall. Uh,
It is good. It is good, right? Yeah, they don't
yeah, a
have.
lot of letters. Get someone with a lot of letters after their name.
Yeah.
Um, but that's nice. That really helps, um, and honestly, getting to do what I love to do. I mean, right, this record was a big one for me. Being able to be in the studio and just writing, and this album is so. I always say record. We don't even make records anymore. What would we say? Because it's not even an album. There's no albums. It's like this thing that's streaming in the clouds somewhere. That's
Like a
I don't even
TikTok
know where it
release. Yeah.
is. Like, yeah, I uploaded it. It's uploaded somewhere, and then you can just press it on your phone. I don't know. Um, but yeah, working on this album was a lot too. I mean, the whole record is. uh, my life story. It's pretty much the most autobiographical uh, album I've ever made. I don't write in journals or diaries or anything, which I should, but I write songs, and lyrics, and that's my getting my blech out. So,
Why'd you title it Nonstop Flight?
well, the album we started when for some reason, I'm when I was doing the artwork for the album originally, I had just gone and visited this place it's called the Pan Am Experience in LA. And I'm obsessed with anything vintage, retro. Like
Hmm.
I was born in the wrong era. I wish that I could, wear a suit every day and everyone else outside, in old cars and, I just
I
old
love that.
movies and that's just my vibe. And so when I was doing the album artwork, I was this place called Pan Am Experience. It's like a dinner, and you go and somebody recreated like a vintage 1970s Pan Am airplane, like completely to spec, where they actually shoot movies and stuff in there. Um, but it's like Mad Men, you go and you have dinner and you sit in the first class lounge, and they have old music playing, and you feel like you're back in the 70s on an airplane, when every seat was first class and everyone dressed up to get on an airplane, and it was an event, and you had all the champagne and the big plates of Chateaubriand and caviar, and it was, it wasn't like tight little gray seats with someone with their pillow sleeping on you, like, in their
Yeah, with their
pajamas.
shoes off. Yeah.
Yeah, with their shoes off and their pajamas, clipping
Yeah.
their toenails. And it I was like, oh man, this would be awesome to shoot here. Like, what would I shoot? What could I gotta film something here, do a video here, do something. And then when I started working on the album and doing the artwork, I was like, oh, the artwork should be totally, and I'd only written like two songs for the album so far. It wasn't even an album yet. I didn't even know if I was making an album. I was just writing songs. But I wanted to do a photo shoot at this place. And so we went there and we did this whole photo shoot, and that kind of spiraled into what the album was going to be. And so I started writing uh, songs, and the artwork was like I'm the captain of the flight, and I have the flight attendants, and it's Bel Air, and we have, and all of the artwork it looks like a vintage magazine that you'd pull out from the back, like the vintage airline magazines. Um, and I started writing the songs, and kind of sometimes in some of the songs incorporating like the flight theme, like lyrically, or like in a chorus, as the chorus would drop, you'd hear the sound of like the jet engine, and so I started doing that, and then I was like, oh man, it should be this experience. Like you should put the headphones on and hear the flight attendants and hear the captain. And, on the heavier songs, we should have turbulence. And when the soft songs come, we should be like dimming the cabin lights and passing out blankets and pillows and doing food and beverage service and opening up the upper deck lounge and having so it became this whole concept album. And then when I was like 10 songs in and thought like, okay, we might have an album here. I was trying to think of titles for the album, and I was looking at songs, it's usually like, okay, name it one of the songs or something. And I wasn't into that. And then I was thinking, I fly all the time. And so I was just thinking of like flight themes, and I go, oh, it should be nonstop flight. Like this is an experience. Like you're on this nonstop flight. And then the album, it was so appropriate because the album just kept going and going and going. I would write another three songs and go, oh, well, those have to go on the album. Like these are really good. And then I'd write another four, and then I'd write another five. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, this album is really like, and then it took 4 years to make.
Wow.
And
Wow.
yeah, I had friends going like, dude, records are never finished. They're just released. Like, when is this album? When are you gonna be like, okay, this is the album? Because you have like 20 songs so far. And I'm like, yeah, but these other five are great. Like, we gotta put these on there. So it ends up being this like 35 track album, which basically goes to it's
Love
like the
it.
nonstop album. It just wouldn't stop. I just kept, I mean, I was in LA right after Mass Singer, which is really funny because it was well, not funny, but haha, but strange. I had just gotten kicked off on well, actually kicked off sounds bad. I was unmasked.
Yeah. Mascot. I love it.
That sounds better. I was unmasked on Miley Cyrus night, which is it's so strange how life works, right? So I get unmasked on Miley Cyrus night. The next morning, now I've got the day off because I was supposed to be either going to the show or now I've got the day off. So I go upstairs at my hotel. I'm staying at the Thompson in Hollywood, and I go upstairs to have breakfast at the pool bar there. And I'm sitting there and eating breakfast, and this guy comes up and he sits next to me and he's just got his boxers on at the pool, right?
Yep.
And he leans over and he's like, "Hey man, can you tell I'm just wearing my boxers? I don't want to get in trouble, but I forgot to bring swimming trunks to But they like they he didn't look like he was wearing his underwear. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
he best. And so I looked and I was like, man, just tell him they're the new Balenciagas. Like you'll be fine. And so he's like, all right, cool, cool. But then we start talking, and it turns out he works over across the street at Sunset Sound, which is right across the street from Thompson, and it's the most legendary studio. I mean, they did Pet Sounds there. Van Halen recorded their first records there. Led Zeppelin did one, two, three, and four there. Elton John, The Doors. Janis Joplin recorded her last vocal there and then went, unfortunately, to the back home to the Landmark Hotel and passed away like that night. Her last vocal was, they have the spot and the microphone and everything. And Brian Wilson's Pet Sounds, Elliott Smith. I mean, all these records that I grew up on. I mean, all the legendary artists have recorded there. And so I'm like, no way. Like, is there any way I could come and check the studio out? Like, I mean, Prince recorded all of his hits there. He lived there for 9 months, or 3 years, actually. He lived there for 3 years and recorded Kiss and Purple Rain and everything. I mean, the studio's still there. They still have all of his stuff set up, mic'd just how he liked it. And so I was like, dude, can you at least like give me a tour of this place? Like, this would be amazing. So he's like, yeah, yeah, come over. I'm gonna go upstairs and get ready. Come over in like 90 minutes. I was like, this is very specific. And so my friends come down from the room and we're hanging out and I'm like, guys, we're going to Sunset Sound today. And they're like, cool. Like they have no idea what it is. I'm like, you'll see. Like you're gonna get it. So we go to Sunset Sound and he's giving us the whole tour. And it turns out uh that Miley get get knocked off on Miley night. The next day, I'm in the studio. Miley went there one time and just fell in love with the studio and was like, I don't want to record music anywhere else in the world. Like, this is now my studio. And she ended up writing and recording her entire last album there. I mean, Flowers was written right in that room we were sitting in. I'm like, wait a minute. So the number one record of last year was written right here, and Miley, and there's like all this he was showing me all these Miley videos. She wanted to sing in the same mic as Janis Joplin in the same spot where her last vocal was, and she sang this killer rendition of Mercedes Benz. Um, and there was this awesome video, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, man, this is so weird. And then he goes, hey, I want to hear some of your music too. Play me some of your demos or play me some of your records you're making right now. Or, go through your voice notes and just play me like little ideas. And so we went into the studio and he played me all of these like, you know, pet sounds and all the stuff that was recorded there and like in the studio. I'm like literally losing my mind. And so then I start playing him some of my stuff and some demos and stuff. And he's like, "Oh, we should finish some of these tunes. Like we'll record them here and blah 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 blah." And so I'm like, "Wait a minute, what?" So now, I mean, I think it was pretty much that night. That night we're in the studio and I'm finishing I like write the song in the studio and um, we're having it's like 12 o'clock 1 o'clock in the morning. He's pulling horn players in and he's like, "Oh, I know this great violin player and these string people, like they can come in and do all the orchestra parts and oh, okay, we need piano, okay, boom boom." And these guys were just coming in, people who played on all of Shakira's records and all of Taylor Swift's records and the drummer from Train and all these guys are just like coming in like one after the other. And I'm just like, what is going on? So we recorded to like 4 or 5 in the morning and I'm like, what the heck? And we got one of my favorite songs on the album called Dandelion. And
My God.
I'm sitting there like, I get kicked off on Miley night, unmasked on Miley night. And the next day, I'm in the studio that Miley recorded all of her last record, which was the biggest song of the year last year. And all of these, I mean, the Beatles recorded the last time the Beatles ever recorded together was in this room. I mean, John Lennon, Harry Nilsson, it's just ridiculous. And I'm sitting there recording this song, and I'm like, man, if I hadn't have been unmasked yesterday,
Never would have
I would
met
be at
him.
the mask, like, which would have been cool. But now I have two awesome songs that were, on my record now that are two of my favorite songs on the record. And it was just total serendipity. But like, I didn't get kicked off on John Legend night and then go where Miley recorded her record. I got kicked off on Miley night and then got to record in the same studio. It was just, I was kind of like sitting back sometimes and going like, whoa, this is too surreal.
Isn't it? Isn't and I was going to ask you, who were some of the producers on this album? Nonstop Flight, like anyone there's so many great music producers, but anybody you really love?
I started working on this record myself, and then I have a really good friend of mine, Lee Miles, who helps me produce a lot of the stuff. And then Drew Dempsey, who is at Sunset, he did Dandelion and Nobody Knows.
Wow.
Um, there's this kid, Blake Roses, who did two of the like more pop punk record songs on the record. But pretty much it was me kind of like putting all of this puzzle. I've got this kid in Germany named Kai Dansberg, who it's a very funny story. I so I used to get text messages from producers and friends of mine saying, "Hey, I sent you those files from that song that you wanted or from the record, but whatever, did you get them?" And I'm like, "What files? What are you talking about? I never asked you for any files." And they're like, "No, I got an email from you like to send you all the raw files of these songs." And I'm like, No, you didn't. No, you didn't." And they're like, "Yeah, look." And then they would send me like a screenshot of the email, but it would be my email address, but like there would be two letters instead, or like one letter would be missing. And I'm like, "Bro, that's not me." I'm like, "Who'd you send these to?" They're like,
Oh,
"Oh, shoot, I don't know." I'm like, "Bro," I'm like, "You just sent all of our raw files to some random person. Like, what the heck?" So then I'm trying to track down, like, and it was happening a lot. And so I'm trying to track down who the heck is this? But then I started seeing stuff on YouTube of like my songs, but remixed or things, doing different versions of my songs. And I'm like, all right, these are the files. These are the files. This is who's doing it. But it was like under some alias on YouTube, it was like
yeah,
not their
right. Like,
name.
how are you going to find the person?
Well, my fans are detectives. And my fans were able to track down, and they're like, this is the person who's stealing your stuff. Like, this is the person who's doing it. So I finally was able to track the person down and like get in contact with them. And it was this kid out of Germany. And I was like, bro, you can't be, this is all my material. This is
Yeah,
all
you're
my
like stealing my stuff, using my image.
doing
Yeah.
my stuff. You're using my, like, you can't do this, you know? But the artist in me was like listening to what he was doing, and it was really good. Okay. It was really good. And then then I found out who it was, and I started listening to like his music. And I was like, hmm. So I hit him up and I was like, all right, look, how about this? How about if you want to do anything with my stuff, you ask me, and let's do some original stuff together.
Oh,
Like, let me. So it got, so now I will literally do a little voice note on my phone and I send it to this kid, and he'll send me back a full production demo so that I can hear like, okay, is this a cool idea? And it'll have harm, and he grew up on my music and is influenced by all of the same people, Jellyfish, the Beach Boys, Queen, Michael Jackson, like all the same stuff. So when it comes back as, does this idea work? It comes back fully how I would produce it. And I'm like, oh, okay, nah, this song, no. Oh, this song, whoa, okay. I'll finish writing the lyrics on this. I'll finish this. I'm gonna send you this. He'll send me, stuff with stacked vocals on it and all this stuff. And so then I'll use some of that, and then I'll take that into the studio and I'll, replace whatever I want to replace, and then put on my stuff and blah, 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 blah. And so anyway, now we ended up working
it's like
together.
basically you've hired the hacker. It's like when the
Yeah,
United States
yeah.
government gets hacked and then they hire the kid that hacked them.
Oh, it's catch me if you can. It's white collar. It's totally. Yeah. Yeah. He was Frank Abagnale, and I hired him. I was like, all right, well, you know, just stop, faking my producers out and friends of mine and people who I've worked with and engineers, and everyone had done it too. Like engineers and producers. I'm like, guys, how are you so bamboozled? Like I wouldn't email I when have I ever emailed you, bro? I'm like, I'll just text you, dude. I'll just text you or call you. Like, I've never emailed you and asked you for anything. It would be through a text. But so he worked a lot on the record. So
Amazing.
Kai, so
Okay.
Kai, so Kai worked a lot on the record, and we've ended up, writing songs together. I released a really cool Christmas song we did last year together. And so he worked a lot on the record. But yeah, it was really just like done all over, because of the span of 3.5, 4 years that it took to make the record, just depended on where I was. If I was in LA and I had an idea, I'd call my friend Johnny up and um, go over to his house and say, hey, I've got this idea, put the mic in front of my guitar and we'd build the track, and I'd add, piano and kind of build ideas, and then bring musician
Yeah,
friends in.
you're an
And then
incredible
I would
musician.
go, oh, I need to do horns. Okay, well, let's rent some time over at this studio, and we'll have the horns come in, and I'll tell them what to play. And then, oh, now I'm in Mexico, so I'll, work here, and then I'm in San Diego with my friend Lee. And so it was just like it just depended on like where I was. So the record was made all over the place.
Do you have any songs in mind? Is there any like? Do you have a dream collaboration? I mean, music.
Paul McCartney.
Paul McCartney.
Yeah,
Do you
I mean,
already have a
that's
song? Do you already have a song written for the two of you? You already know what you do.
no, I mean, I think I would love to just get in the room and with a guitar and a piano and write with him. I mean, that would be the dream. That would be, yeah. I think working with Bruno Mars would be really cool too. I think we have a lot of the same, like, I think we have a lot of the same vibe, but like what I can't do, he can do. So it's like, he's got like that killer funk and vocal range and all that. So I think he'd be a lot of fun to work with.
Good. You got a song on the album, I Found Love. Are you trying to tell us
Mhm.
something? Are you dating anybody?
I don't know if that just means I found love in Mexico or I finally found love in life. And um, I got the lyrics in the verses are kind of like, F all the people that are trying to bring me down, like just like, you know,
Okay, there's nothing you
love
want to tell
yourself,
us.
kind of. No, there's nothing. No juicy gossip. Sorry.
Oh, you're hot. You're hot and you're sweet. You've done a lot of work on yourself. You're a great father. We obviously found out a lot about your parents who seem lovely. Your dad seems like an amazing person. So it's like you were a catch. I mean, don't you
I
want
don't
to
know.
tell us who you're dating?
No, I'm not dating.
Oh, all right. No, no luck there. By the way, how are your parents? They were
They're
so
great. My
amazing.
dad, my dad texts me like every
Oh,
day okay, can I tell you really just
yes, because
to
I fell in
tell
love
you
with him like
okay,
everybody
so
else.
my dad is so sweet. Um, but sometimes, and it's I love him, but sometimes it's just so frustrating because so my brother came to visit. He lives in Utah. My brother came to California to visit my dad. I was in Florida, and my dad wants to buy my brother an airplane ticket. Okay. So this is parents and technology. So my dad calls me and he's like, "Hey Drake, I need to buy Joey an airplane ticket and I don't know how to do it." Now, I bought my dad an iPad and an iPhone. So basically he has he has more technology than NASA had to send a man on to the moon in his hand. Okay? But he has absolutely no idea how to use it. And so he's like, I need to book an airplane flight for your brother. I'm like, okay, cool. Just like go online and book a ticket. Like
Yeah,
what?
yeah.
He's like, no,
Price
I don't know.
line.
I don't know how. I don't know how. Like you always do it for me when I fly and you just send me I book everything for him and then I send him the ticket and he just goes and scans it and he doesn't have to think about anything. And I'm like, Dad, it's so easy. Just go to go to Expedia, go to this, go to that, go to Google Flights, like, and just go in, put in your information, whoever's flying, pick the seat, pick the thing. It's very self-explanatory. Like it's like point and
Yeah.
click. Could not figure it out. My sister, okay, my sister's sitting next to him, and I'm like, well, just have Kelly do it. Like she's right there. Like just have Kelly do it. Well, I get a call back about 30 minutes later, and they're both about to rip each other's heads off. Okay. They're so frustrated. And they're like, Drake, neither of us can figure it out. Can you just do it for us, please? And I'm like, wait a minute. You and Kelly cannot figure out how to purchase an airplane ticket right now? I'm like, this is ridiculous. So I buy the ticket. So the next, now he's got to get home because they only did a one way because they didn't know how long he was going to stay. Well, now he's got to get home. So now they call me. It's my brother. Now they're a little older, okay? I'm the youngest. All right. I'm the youngest. So
This is like not that hard. Okay.
I know, but they're like
Hmm.
in their 50s and my dad's 75, okay? So now I got my dad, my sister, and my brother all in the same room. And they call me. They're like, "We can't figure out how to buy a ticket for Joey to get home. Can you help us?" I'm like, Dad, I'm in the middle. Like, I can't, I'm working right now. Like, I want to help you, but I was like doing some press conference or something. And I'm like, I literally answered my phone like while like I was being interviewed. And I'm like, Dad, I love you, but I can't just, I mean, okay, can Joey can figure it out. And Joey's like, I hear Joey in the background. He's like, I don't ever fly, bro. You do this all the time. Like this is your thing. This is your wheelhouse. Like, I don't ever fly, bro. I don't know how to do it. I'm like, oh my God. I go, Dad, are there three grown adults in the same room and none of you can figure out how to get my brother home.
Oh my God, I love it.
This is ridiculous. Anyway, I just thought that was a funny story that I had three adults, my brother, my sister, and my father, all in the same room with three smartphones and couldn't figure it out. Then I have my sister texting me like, Drake, dad's really. Then she goes into I get this whole like page long email, a text message about dad's breathing over my shoulder and he's getting frustrated and this is why it's so difficult because I'm like dude, I don't need to know about the entire history of yours and dad's relationship right now to just purchase an airplane ticket. I'm like, this is crazy. And so I'm like just do it on dad. She's like, every time I put in the information it just keeps changing to my information, and it's not Joey's information. When I go to the next page, it goes back to my information. I'm like, okay, first of all, that's impossible. Because you've never purchased an airplane ticket on your phone. So, or nor have you ever input your information on the website that I'm giving you. So that's impossible. Second, just do it on dad's phone. Like, then just do it on dad's phone. Well, dad has an iPhone. I've only used Androids. I don't know how to use an iPhone. I'm
God.
like,
Like I
it's
love
the
it. You're like
same.
doing Drake Bell. You're managing your brand and apparently the Bell family here for
Yeah.
all.
Oh yeah. Oh
You're
yeah.
a
I'm
travel
like,
agent.
yeah, I'm the Bel. It's Bel Air, right?
Bell
Now,
is
now,
Bell
yeah.
Air. That's
Now
what you
it's come to
get for
fruition. And
nonstop flight.
I'm like, I'm like, guys, I, I'm like, Kelly, it's an iPhone. You just point and click. If you see the picture, click on it. If it says next, click on it. If it says name, put the name of the person that wants to fly. I'm like, what in the world? So anyway, it was like I was just it was one afternoon where I'm like I was doing press for the tour and I'm getting while it's sitting on the table and I'm getting these long emails about how they can't figure out how to. I'm like, oh my gosh, these three adults sitting in a room together, all on their phone. They must be I would love to just be a fly on the wall in that room.
Yeah.
I'm like, my family, my goodness. Anywhere they're doing great.
Okay, well, that
Um,
the long and the short is your dad's doing great, which is awesome. He
yeah,
was such, I mean, we all fell in love. Such a vulnerable,
yeah,
open dad. So that's
yeah.
great. I
Yeah,
know you
my
got
mom's great, my family's great, my son's
good.
wonderful, everything's awesome. I've just, I'm working like crazy, so
I got two last questions for you because I know you got to bounce to a sound check. Yeah, how old's your little guy? Are you guys, you love
three,
Christmas.
three.
Oh,
I
my
love
son's
Christmas.
three and a half
Yeah,
too.
so
I know. Is he
it's gonna be
excited?
Christmas is the best. Yeah,
So good.
last year was so cute. It's just so awesome. Like, and I'm such a I love I grew up at Disneyland. I love Disneyland, Disney
Oh,
World, and we're in Florida, and so they always tell you before you have kids, like, oh, when you see it through your child's eyes, like you get to
magic.
experience it all over again. And I mean, it's just so awesome. Like we were at Disney World not too long ago, and we were going to go on Pirates of the Caribbean. And so we're walking from Frontierland to Adventureland, and I'm getting him hyped up to see the pirates. So I'm like, all right, now we're gonna go see the pirates. What do the pirates say? And he's like, "Arr," and I'm like, yeah, okay, we're gonna. And then I'm like, all right, Wyatt, where are we going? Where are we going? Where are we going? Where are we going? Who are we gonna see? The pirates, the pirates. So I'm getting him hyped up to see the pirates, right? Well, we're walking past the little souvenir shop, and they have pirate hats. And so, excuse me, I will not be sick one day.
I know.
Um, it's all this flying and meet and greets. It's like you can't stay. You can't stay. I,
You're
I
at
even started
Nostalgia
having
Con.
people do the hand sanitizer. Doesn't work. But anyway, so we're walking past the souvenir shop. He sees the pirate hats, and so I go up and I'm like, "Oh, we need a pirate hat to go to meet the pirates, because we're gonna be pirates." And so I put the pirate hat on him, and he loves it. And then he sees the swords that glow and blow bubbles. So he's got to have the sword that glows and blows bubbles. And then I'm like, all right, well, if we're gonna do that, like, let's go all out because they have little like pirate costumes that you just literally put over their. It's like you put over their clothes and it velcros in the back, and they're like instantly look like Jack Sparrow. Like they're really cool costumes.
Got to go all in.
So I'm like, you want to be a real pirate? And so now I'm like, this is the kind of dad I am, right? I'm just like, this is seeing it through your kid's eyes, you know? And so now I've got my kid dressed head to toe in full pirate costume, the hat, the eye patch, the eyeglass, the sword that blows bubbles, and we're like walking and standing in line to go to the Pirates of the Caribbean, and it was just a blast because it's like, you know, I love going on the ride, and I love,
Oh,
it's, I love all of it.
amazing.
I relive my childhood, and I'm, one of those people. But just sitting there and watching him like so excited, dressed like a pirate, like being like, "Arr!" Like all this, I was just like, I'm like,
I know.
this is the greatest time I've ever been on this ride in my life. And I've been on this ride a million times. Like, this is just so it's, finding out what his favorite rides changing throughout the years. Like, first it's the
Yeah.
merry-go-round, and then it's the goofy roller coaster, and then it's the Snow White roller coaster because he's tall enough now. And so, like, just getting to, have all those different experiences are just really, really cool.
All right, where are we going to see you next? You've done Mass Singer. I mean, you got a huge schedule, like you said. You got your North American tour. You're at NostalgiaCon December. I think it's 6th through the 8th. I mean, you've got
Yeah, that's in Houston. Come on out, hang out.
come on out. We got the Venice Beach Party, the Ugly Sweater. I mean, you got a huge schedule. But I got to imagine, are you working on any TV projects? Are you got any movies in the works? What do you?
Well, I, you know, I've never really written like film or television. But I I wrote I had this idea. I'm like, I'm spending all this time in Mexico and I'm like really just in love with this country and these people, and it's amazing. And then I come back to the US and I watch like movies that we make about Mexico or and watch the news, and I'm like it's all sepia toned and narcos and all
About
all
Mexico. It's
all
true.
the stuff that we're inundated with,
It's true about Mexico. Yeah.
and I'm like, that's not Mexico. Like, what is this? So I'm like, I want to write a movie, like some romantic comedy, that where some guy like me goes to Mexico and sees it for what it really is, or like sees it through the eyes of the girl he falls in love with and gets to see the real side of Mexico. And so I wrote this movie a couple years ago, just like I don't know how to write a movie. But I wrote this movie, and then I'll leave you on this story because this is
Okay.
really cool. So uh I was watching kind of, I was watching movies uh from Mexico, trying to see like, who would be good writers to work with or producers, or what kind of movie would I like to make. And I watched this movie, Instructions Not Included, with Eugenio Derbez, and then I watched this movie. It was like the number one streamed movie in the US, and it's mostly in Spanish. There's like a few scenes in English, but it's like all Spanish. It was like the number one streamed movie in the US when it came out. It's a really great movie. It's hilarious. Um, it's sweet, and then the uh the end will rip your heart out. You're gonna laugh, and you're gonna
Oh,
cry.
okay.
I told people to see the movie, and they literally were like texting me throughout it. They're like, "Oh my gosh, this movie's so funny. This movie's so funny." And then at the end, they texted me. They're like, "I hate you. Why did you make me watch this? Like, how am I gonna recover? Like, I need to go walk outside." Like, I'm like, I told you that, and I told you your heart was gonna get broken. But anyway, so and then there was like this movie, Amarte de Duele, which is like a really big movie from the night, like early 2000s. Um, Super independent, but really great movie, kind of a Romeo and Juliet story. Low budget, but like amazing. Uh, made a bunch of stars from that movie. And then there was this movie like called Don't Blame It on the Baby, which is another hilarious movie. But they're all these Mexican movies. And I start looking up, okay, well, who produces this? Like who's making these movies? Who are doing who like what producers? And it all turned out to be like this same woman that was making all these movies. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's the kind of person that I need. Like, it's that style that I want to make, obviously, because if I'm enjoying all of her movies and like, it could have been three different producers, four different producers, but it was all this same woman. Well, flash forward, I'm at a concert in Tabasco, and my friend comes up to me, and my manager who works with me, and he comes up and he says, "Hey, my buddy Nico is having a premiere next week, but it's the same day as your meet and greet. I don't know if we'll be able to make it." So we go back to Mexico, and I'm doing this meet and greet, and he comes up and he's like, "Oh, we're not going to be able to make it to Nico's premiere tonight, blah, 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 blah." And then he's like, "Oh, Nico is the son of Monica, who is the producer
Of all these amazing
of all
films.
these movies, right?"
Wow. Dude,
So
you're really
I'm like, wait a minute, what? I go, bro, ask him if we can have a meeting and see, because really I just wanted to like talk to him or her, like to find out if I can get some, because I wrote this movie, but like I don't know if it's any good. Like maybe I give it to some writers and they can help me out. So I was just gonna go for like some advice on who to get for writers. So he calls me right back and he's like, "Oh, Monica wants to meet you with her whole team." And I'm like, "What?" Okay. So I go into this meeting and I bring the script, and it's got the whole, it's like total Hollywood. It's like I feel like I'm in Studio City and like or Burbank, like and it's like the same exact vibe. She's got like long white hair, big horn rim glasses, and like smoking a cigarette
oh,
inside. I'm
you're
like,
very
oh,
Hollywood.
I'm like, oh, you're Hollywood. And so because I was working on my record and making all the, being in like the music side of life. And then I walk into this room and I'm like, oh, I'm back in Hollywood. Okay. And so she's like sitting there and she's like, "Okay, read me your script." And I was like, "What?" She's like, "Read me your script." And I was like out loud, like here, right now, in front of everyone. She's like, "Yeah, we want to hear the script." And I was like,
I believe it. You
"All
were
right,
ready.
well, this is not what I was prepared for. I was just going to come in and ask you some suggestions, but okay." Well, page one, exterior, Jalisco, Mexico. And I'm like, I just like go into this and I start doing, and I'm doing different, and I like used to voiceovers and stuff. So I'm like doing the characters for each character, I'm like doing all these different voices, and I'm reading this, and I'm like, I haven't even read the script in a year. I wrote it, and I'm like, okay, I hope this is good. And I'm like changing stuff. I'm like, oh wait, hang on, and like changing stuff like right on the day, and like
On the fly. You're like,
on the
yeah,
fly, just like, and so we get through the whole script and everything. And then they're like, "Okay, we'll come back with some notes. We'll meet next week and we'll have notes for you." And I was like, "Okay, this is really not okay, okay, cool. Like great. So they send me the notes. I come back into the next meeting. We're talking over all the notes, and she's like, "I know you came to me to just ask for like writers and stuff, but is this something that you would want me to produce?" And I'm like, uh,
wow.
en mis sueños, like in my dreams, like, yeah, like I literally came to ask you, can you suggest any writers that I could work with? Could you suggest any this, that, or the other?
Wow.
And it turned out she's like, "Well, how about I just produce it?" Because she's like, "I kind of feel like I'm already producing it. Like you're like my team's giving you notes. We're talking about budget. We're talking about this. She's like, I already feel like I'm kind of producing this. Is this something that would you be interested in me producing it? And I was like, yes, like yes. It's like there's no question about yes. Like, okay, what's next? Well, where do we go from here? Yes.
So this is in the
So
works. This is like happening.
yeah, I mean, I don't know, we still it's just she's the, the
Yeah,
production
it's
producer.
a
We gotta
long way.
find the studio. We gotta find it's, it's not as easy as making an album isn't easy, but I can control all that. I can say when I'm recording, I can say what songs I want to put on the record. I
Okay.
can say what I want. But when you're making a movie or TV, you got to have there's 100 people involved and yeses and nos and change this, change that, and budgets and locations and all of that kind of stuff. But right now we're getting the script to where we want it. I wrote another draft, and now we're getting together with some other writers to kind of come in and doctor the thing up and get kind of because right now it's a movie about Mexico written by an American. So we're having to get like the really get that kind of culture clash um, thing in there. And then hopefully we get a studio to do it and we'll be, hopefully filming something next year.
And all this time, I was going to say to you, has Hallmark Channel called you? Because I mean, you could be playing now. I mean, I don't know if
I
you,
would love to do so.
but
I mean, like I am. I'm cheesy Christmas guy, so
no, I'm like,
Put
he'd be
me
so
in,
good
put
at
me in,
that.
put me in some dark denim jeans and a brown overcoat with a
Fraser?
with a scarf and
I mean, you're
some
too
leather gloves.
young. You're really too young to start playing dad roles, but
I mean, I am a dad, so
but you are a dad. You might have to do it. Drake Bell, we absolutely love you. Will you please come back?
of
You
course.
have to become a regular. And I'm sort of throwing this at you at the last minute, but I do want you to come back. I don't know if this is triggering or not, but this Diddy case is probably going to become one of the biggest Hollywood stories of like bringing down, and rightfully so, right? But I want you to come back because a lot of people are very brave. They're going to be telling their stories when he goes on trial in May, and I just wonder if I don't know. I mean, might be too much for you. I don't want to do anything because you're on such a great path, but you are a person that's been there and been not believed and for a long period of time. And you've seen people in power carry on for a long time without
Yeah,
consequence.
yeah. It's that's a wild case. I mean, who knows? I mean, we still haven't seen the Epstein list, so who knows if we'll ever see the Diddy list? But
Ooh, you don't think? I
pretty
think,
that's
I don't know.
wild.
I know there's big
That's
names.
wild.
Okay, will you come back? That's like a whole nother show. Will you come back?
I know. I was gonna say you're opening up a can of worms at the end here.
Sorry.
But yeah,
Just
yeah, of
like,
course.
did you ever?
I'd love to come back. I'd love to come back. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, did you always hear Hollywood rumblings about him, or is it shocking?
No, never. I know.
You didn't know.
I, I, I wasn't really in that. I don't think I was famous enough to go to a Diddy party, first of all.
So famous.
Second of all, I was never really a big fan of hip hop, and I don't know. Yeah, I've never heard anything. I'm a
You were on the other side of
I have
Hollywood.
no interest. I mean, not an interest. Well, obviously no interest now. But no, I had no privy to any of that, any of that.
All right. Well, please come back in the spring. Maybe you can shed some insight on what some of these brave people are going to be going through. And, I mean, really how to handle it, what they can do, because I think it's going to be obviously a big, very big case and a lot more is going to come out. So let's drop that bombshell on you
Yeah,
here at the end. You know,
yeah, for sure, for sure.
we love you.
Well, it
Congrats.
was great being here.
It's great. So on that note, uh,
Yeah.
no, you got to
On
come
that
back.
note, send me some merch. I'll get you my address
Will do. We love you. Go see
as soon as I
Drake
settle
Bell.
down somewhere.
I know. That's the thing.
I'm
Justin
like
always
a
said that.
nomad right now. I'm literally like hotel to Airbnb to airport to car to airport to car to airplane to Airbnb to I'm all over the map right now. So,
You are
and
your
then next year we're doing my South America tour. So I'm going to be in Ecuador and what's really cool is I'm going to Paraguay. My son is half Paraguayan.
Hmm.
And so I'm going to the city. I get to play the city that all his side of the family is from. So I'm gonna be in Paraguay, getting to play a show. So that's gonna be really really cool. But yeah,
I
so I'm doing a whole
love
South
you.
America run next year, and then hopefully Europe.
Okay, all that. And then wait, this is the final question. There was a rumor too. Are we getting a follow-up with Quiet on Set? Are we getting an update with you or no? Was
Not
that
with me. I haven't heard anything. But yeah, no, not anything with me. The only update was that fifth episode, but yeah,
right?
no. I'm
Okay.
done with Quiet on the Set.
You are. You're done with
Yeah,
it.
that's that okay.
Okay. Are you like at the point too you don't want to talk? I should have asked you this. You don't, are you like ready to
No, I mean
not talk
it's
about it?
look, I the silver lining in it is that, like I said, when I'm out and people come up to me and share their stories and say thank you for being so brave. I had this woman tell me this at the airport a few months ago. She's like, I something, happened to me and I kept quiet for so many years and told me her whole story and she started crying. Her husband walked up and I don't know if he knew like exactly who she was talking to. He came up from behind me and was like, why is my wife crying to some guy? Like what is going on? And then he like kind of turned around and saw that it was me and was like, "Oh my God, you have no idea the impact that this has had on my wife. We've been
Yeah.
dealing with this for so many years and I'm the only person she's ever told." And it got to the point where they're actually I don't know what the process is, but they went to their state government and are now having legislation passed on certain, I don't know if it's like for statute
Wow.
of limitations or whatever it was that they were
Yeah.
doing. But it like she's like, and this all sprang from me seeing you in the documentary. And she's like, and now I have a whole what do you call it? Like group, like
I'm sure support
not a
group and
charity. What do you
probably,
call it?
yeah. Or
It's like a coalition, I guess, would
mhm.
be the right word. Like I have this whole coalition of people that are joining me, and we've gone to our local, and then it's at the state, and they're working on passing legislation to do this and this and this, and it looks like we're gonna get it passed, and this and that and that. And she's like, this literally all stemmed from me seeing you in the documentary. So thank you so much. So yeah, I don't like talking about it.
Well, what's the
But
part you don't, I mean,
but
look, what's the part you don't like talking about? Because it seemed like
oh,
it did.
probably the rape.
Okay, okay, well, yes. All right. That part. Yes. All right.
Probably the fact that I was like the horrible crap that happened to me as a
Yeah.
child. And the
Okay.
fact that every time we talk about it, like that pops back up into my brain. And
Yeah.
it's a difficult thing. But I think as much as I don't like talking about it, and I'd way rather be talking about my, what I'm doing now and my future and things I'm looking forward to doing. Um, like I said, there's still, I don't mind talking about it because of
I get it. Yeah. It
experiences like
helps.
because of things like that, because of experiences like that. If somebody comes up to me in a meet and greet and wants to talk to me about it, I'm not like, ugh, God, I got to talk about this again. Like, no, there's there's a silver lining to it, definitely.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I understand that completely. And thank you for really clarifying that because I think, yeah, I think I look at it as right, how many people you help and isn't it good to talk about it? But I get it. I haven't lived that experience. So for you, I'm sure there's yeah, it's that constant reminder and you probably wonder, I don't know, Yeah, it was good to
And it's also a
clarify.
reminder of like, oh, everybody knows now. Because I have lived with this as this deep, dark secret for so many years of, okay, well, if I can just get through this, like nobody knows. Like, if anybody knows, what are they gonna think? And then, oh, hey, so about this quiet on set thing, like I'm just like, oh yeah, I forgot. Everybody knows. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
but like I said, um, it's nice to have moments like that, like with that woman in the airport.
Yeah.
It's
Absolutely. Well, look, we freaking love you. You're coming back. You got so much to talk about. Your career, your music, when you and Paul McCartney collab. That'll be a good
Oh
one.
yeah, it's
That'll be a
coming.
good one. All right.
We don't have
Love
much.
you,
We
my
don't have
friend.
much time. He's getting up there, so.
God, oh God. All right. You better like, how do we make this happen? Yeah, your people must know Paul McCartney's people. We must be able to get
Oh
it.
yeah, right. I wish. My friend did. My friend did just win a meet and greet with him at his last concert and sent me pictures, and I was like, great. And then my other friend,
You
does she flies on private she flight attendants for private jets,
amazing.
and she just got Paul's flight. So
Okay.
I'm only 6 degrees of separation. We'll figure it out.
Look, you've already explained in
Yeah,
this
I'm at like
interview
4
how you
degrees. I'm
manifest.
at like 4 degrees now, so we'll be good. I'm close.
Dude, you
I
manifested
did meet
it.
Ringo. I met Ringo, so I have met a Beatle. So at least I can go. At least I can go away with that.
I do like my Ringo too.
Yeah.
All right, my love. Great to
Yeah,
see
I gotta
you.
run.
Bring
I
you
gotta
back.
run this contract.
Okay, bye.
All right,
Best of luck.
awesome.
Everybody
Bye.
follow. Bye. Go see
Yeah,
Drake
thank
Bell.
you.
See ya. Bye.